right, welcome back everybody to the Blueprint on How to Turn Goals into Achievement podcast for students. I am your coach speaker, Andres Ruiz, and today we have a very special guest who I've had the privilege and honor of getting to know a little bit better. We had a little bit of a conversation. I really love the work that she does, and her name is Maida F. Camacho, and she is with, she's a TRIO alum, and works with Upward Bound and Student Support Services. So Maida believes TRIO programs became a vital role in her high school education, her higher education, because she would not have the resources available to pursue an undergraduate degree, much less a graduate master's degree. And beginning with Upward Bound as a sophomore at MacArthur High School, Maida became a participant of Upward Bound, which afforded her access to educational and cultural enrichment activities, along with providing tutoring and Saturday college prep days. The consistent engagement in becoming acclimated with the college environment gave her the knowledge she needed to pursue a college education. As an undergrad, Maida became a participant of student support services at Lone Star College and at Texas State University. Currently, Maida is the Educational Talent Search Program Advisor for a nonprofit organization called the Paris Foundation, which incorporates TRIO programs serving in Alif, Fort Bend, and Spring Branch ISDs in Houston, Texas. Good stuff. Thank you for being on the show, Maida. How are you feeling today?
Thank you for having me, Andres. I'm very excited to be here. Thank you for inviting me.
Yeah, thank you for being on, for sure. So, Maida, I always like to get the show started, and I always like to get the guests to kind of like brag on themselves a little bit. So, because I think it's important that we do that. So, I want to ask you, what would you say is your superpower?
Sure. So, I would say my superpower is relatability with people.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
I believe it's important to be authentic with a culture or group of people that is different from myself, because I leave myself open for the opportunity to learn something new. So I think relatability is my superpower.
I love that. Yeah, that's definitely a big superpower, especially like you said, with different cultures, different people, you have to have that. And then that authenticity, I think, is really important. So that, I agree 100%, is a superpower. So thank you for sharing that.
For sure.
So tell me a little bit about, just kind of like an overview of the work you do as the TRIO ETS program advisor. Tell us a little bit about that.
Okay, so during the school year, Monday through Thursday, I attend our targeted schools in the Alif school district.
Okay.
There is a designated area in the school that I work out of to be able to call out students from their advisory or electives classes. And then I meet with the student either on a one-on-one basis or as a group, depending on what the session needs to be about. And depending on the student's need, I let them lead the session with whatever they need help with, whether it be financial aid, scholarships, college applications, etc. And on Fridays, I spend in the office, or it's like our headquarters, for administrative duties. So that's an overview of what I do.
Nice. And I kind of like how you said that you kind of let the student kind of lead the session, where I feel like they probably feel heard, or like they feel like you're there to support them, which is really cool. So I think that alone is a skill set, just listening to what they have to say. So
absolutely, like it's not always coming with an agenda. I mean, sure, you have a game plan and you have goals that you want to set with that student, but you want to take the time to hear out what they have to say, and maybe they're having an off day, and it's important that we take a time out and just have a real transparent conversation with them as well.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, just having, and I think that's what builds that connect with all of you as TRIO people, because I've worked with a few TRIO and Upward Bound advisors and directors, and it's amazing what you guys do for these kids, and how above and beyond you go for these kids, because they really feel the love and the attention from you guys. So thank you for doing that. That's
absolutely
awesome. So tell us, for students that would be interested in having a career in higher ed, or going to college, what would you say it takes to be successful at what you do?
So I would say develop strong time management skills throughout your time in college, because it will follow you into your career, whatever that may end up being. The other skill I would say to help you become successful in doing what I do is being flexible, because every day is different. And even if you have a plan in place, adaptability is key.
Yes. Yeah. Flexibility and adaptability, that right there. And time management. I mean,
Yeah.
if I would have known that stuff a long time ago, man, I wouldn't have gotten so much trouble and, had so many problems. But man, having that flexibility, that adaptability where, you're willing to kind of like, okay, I understand it's not going to go the way that I wanted it to, but that's sometimes what happens in life. And I'm
Right.
glad that you brought those things up, because yeah, these three right here, if people were to learn these, man, they would be so successful in
Right.
every area of their life. So I
Absolutely.
agree with you 100% with that. So tell us, like, what would you say are like the three challenges you've been noticing in high school students been having that have been having lately, like themselves?
So with high school students, I would say the first is lack of communication and eye contact. I believe social media and smartphones and other devices contribute to this, unfortunately. And the second I would say is forming written communication. So things like essays, letters, even writing a paragraph with correct grammar and punctuation is lacking at the high school level. And so that's huge. And the third I would say is developing a plan after high school. So TRIO students are first generation college students. However, I understand that college isn't for everyone. With that being said, it's important to instill in these students a plan after they graduate so they can be productive and contributing citizens to society. So those are the three challenges that I've seen as of late in high school
Yeah,
students.
that makes sense. Like the whole having trouble with communication and eye contact, and it really, yeah, I think that, yeah, definitely the phones have something to do with that, because I mean, I remember one time just being at a barbershop, and no lie, like I was there waiting for an hour, and because it was a long line, and then I saw this kid with this phone like this,
Right.
literally like this, and then the hour passed, he was still like that, and then I got my hair cut, and when I was leaving, he was still like, I'm like, oh my God, I was like, my neck was hurting just looking at him.
Yeah.
And so I agree that, we need to, make sure that we have that eye contact, and that communication is so important. And that whole thing about like writing and communicating is so, man, and I shouldn't be speaking because my grammar is not exactly the best, but I have gotten better, I'll tell you that. And then kind of like developing a plan after high school. I mean, I think a lot of kids, what happens, and for me it happened too, where I was like, oh, what's next? Like, what do I do next? So
Right.
I can see how that can definitely be a problem. So like when you think about these problems that these high school students are having, for any students that are listening, who are facing these challenges, what advice would you give them to overcome these challenges?
The advice I would give them is to start your plan now versus later. It's never too late to join your school's TRIO program or look into it, see if your school offers TRIO. And if they don't, there are a lot of resources out there that help with filling out the FAFSA, the financial aid application for college, or scholarships, college applications. Most schools have at least like a grad center or some type of senior counselor that you should seek out. So that's what I would say.
Yeah, no, yeah, I definitely think that if you want to like have that, be ready, like absolutely reaching out for help, like in regards to the whole, getting better at writing and communication, like on paper, like what would you say would be the advice you would give those kids like to do in regards to that?
I would say keep a daily journal. I think that's what helped me in my formative years when
Nice.
I was, because, back then, and it wasn't that long ago, kids, but back then when I was in high school, we had assignments that were just like daily journal entries, and it wasn't a serious assignment, but it was just, I see, like, looking back now, I see why they did that. And
Mhm.
it's just so for us to like put it into practice, because if you're not using those written skills that you're learning in, grade school, in primary school, grammar, punctuation, things like that, it's like if you don't use it, you lose it. So
Yep.
that continuous daily practice, just jotting down your thoughts in a journal, but then being aware of your grammar, being aware of your punctuation. Don't just write your words in shorthand like how we text. That's not, when you're about to write an essay for a college application, you can't write shorthand. You can't,
Mhm.
miss your punctuation, or you're not going to get the scholarship, or your application isn't going to be approved. So just practicing that on a daily basis.
Yeah. No, yeah, that's great tips. I love that what you said about keeping a journal, because I do journaling, and I've noticed that I've gotten better as a writer. I'm not the best writer, but I'm getting better. I'm getting there, and
It helps, right?
it does. It really does.
Yeah.
You start to notice, like, wait, I think there's a comma that should go there, and
Right.
sometimes when you're doing it on Google, I'll be typing it up, and then I'll put a comma, and then I'm like, oh, okay, Google didn't correct me, so I must be doing it right. Or, I don't know. So
You're right.
yeah, I
You're getting
agree.
better.
Yeah. So I've definitely gotten better. I'm not the best writer ever, but I definitely am better than where I was. So
And that's the goal. That's awesome.
I love that. Yeah, good stuff. Yeah, and definitely, and then in regards to like that tr- challenge with communication, eye contact, like what would you say helped you in your life to like have better communication or eye contact? Like what would you give? Like what tip would you give to these youth?
Well, to be honest, I didn't have a smartphone throughout my entire high schooling. So I guess just not having those devices at my beck and call, or, in my back pocket, I think that's what helped me have eye contact. But then also, I was always involved in speech and debate in middle school and high school, and the drama club. And I mean, those are skills that they teach you in class, that, you have to have eye contact when you're talking to another character on stage. So it was easy for me to just relate that to real life. And so whenever I talk to somebody, I try to always make eye contact with them. So I think that that's what helped me anyway.
I love that. And then definitely like speech and drama and all that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
That stuff is like another level, honestly. And
Yeah.
that's very courageous of you to do that, because man, that's
Thank
like
you.
not an easy feat, honestly, to do.
It's not.
It's nerve-wracking. Like you almost feel like you're just gonna pass
It's
out.
very nerve-wracking.
Heck yeah, it is. It is. So yeah, guys, hey, get a speech class, man. Like go give a presentation or go do some of these things that Maida has done. And yeah, you'll definitely be more comfortable with talking to people.
Public, yeah, public speaking for sure.
Oh yeah, public speaking is oh my god, it's been a life changer for me. So like for how, and kind of like I think it's important that we have like some people in our lives that are helping us along the way. I want to ask you, like, how did you find help and mentorship for what you do, or just overall in college and all these all these years that you've been in the higher ed?
Sure. So I started teaching theater after I graduated from Texas State University. So my background is in theater arts, and so my professional career began with that. However, I never wanted to be a teacher. I never wanted to be a teacher, and I found seriously, I found my mental health was struggling because I wasn't doing something that I loved or had a passion for. So I knew I wanted to stay in the education field and help students. I just didn't want to teach. So I decided to go back to school and obtain my master's in education at Angelo State University. And my internship class provided a final project to reach out to professionals in the field that we wanted to pursue. So
Okay.
that's what helped me for sure.
I love that. Yeah, man. And thank you for being so, vulnerable and sharing about how, you're struggling with your mental health. And I'm
Mhm.
sure that there's a lot of kids, that are struggling with mental health and it's just not, you don't hear too many people talk about it and be willing to say, hey, you know what? I was in your position at one point and I had some struggles. So I
Right.
just want to acknowledge you for saying that. I appreciate that about you.
Thank you.
Yeah, for sure. And so how would you say these mentors that you've met on your journey, how did these mentors help you, and any mentors that you would like to give a shout out to that you can think of?
Absolutely. I immediately thought of reaching out to my former trio advisor and the directors that I had.
Yeah.
So Mrs. Simone Carnegie Diaz was my former Upward Bound advisor, and Mrs. Marilyn Dement was the former Upward Bound director, both serving MacArthur High School with Aldine ISD in collaboration with Lone Star College North Harris. Last but not least, Mr. Alfred Bacon, the former director of student support services at Lone Star College North Harris. They stuck with me throughout the years and have helped mentor me with their time, talent, and patience. And it's because of their leadership that I wanted to pursue a career with TRIO programs.
Nice. Yeah. And then that's so cool that they had that time, they gave you the time, the talent, and the patience. And that's so cool how I feel like people in trio, they want to have that ongoing relationship with that kid, that even if they leave, they want to like check up on them or just have the youth reach out to them and say, hey, I'm doing this. Because I really feel that as trio advisors and directors, you guys build a relationship. I almost feel like they're kind of like your kids in a way, like you really care
They
about.
are very much so. I think of my students as my kids for sure.
Yeah, I see that when I'm working with upward bound directors or advisors or with the ETS or with the SSS. I see it and I see that these people, they really truly care, and I love that about them. I love that about you, because when we have people that care for our youth, what they're
Mhm.
really doing is they're caring for our future.
Right.
And that says a lot about the work that you do. And that's why when I was speaking, I still am speaking for trio and upward bounds, when I go and speak, I always tell them like, hey, thanks for what you do, because man,
Yeah,
if it was not for you, I don't know what these kids would be doing. They'd be either lost
exactly.
or I don't know what they would. And we have to make sure that we're watching out for these kids, because I always tell the kids, hey, you're our future, man. When I'm this old guy, like, and I want to make sure that we have some good leaders,
Yeah.
so yeah, so definitely love what you do, and great advice about mentors. And I love how you gave a shout out to some of these people that they still care about you. That's beautiful.
Yeah.
That's a good thing to
That's
have.
all. Yeah.
Yeah, I love that. So kind of like to wrap things up, the final question I have for you is why is it important to stay hungry and humble at the same time when pursuing your goals?
So it's important because you never know who you cross paths with, and they may affect your future either directly or indirectly. So be grateful for the people that you come across, whatever position they may have. In other words, be just as kind to the janitor as you would to the CEO that's going to offer you like a paid internship at their company. um Take advantage of opportunities by advocating for yourself. I think we that's another skill that we instill in our students, is that we want them to advocate for themselves, because we would like to stay with them all the way up until they graduate from college, but we're not always going to be there, right? So we want them to learn this early on while they're still in high school, to be an advocate for yourself and for others. It's important to also stand up for those that can't stand up for themselves.
Yeah, wow, those are some gold nuggets right there for sure. Advocating for yourself, and then which also will help you advocate for others. And I love that saying of, like, be just as kind to the janitor as you would the CEO. Right there,
Right.
that right there is power at its finest, honestly, because if you can treat a janitor just like you would a CEO, wow, it not only will help you with your own identity and your own values, but other people will start to see that, and they'll be like, wow, this person is somebody that I definitely would like to have.
Right. It shows that you're humble just as much as you are grateful for the opportunity of crossing paths, because like I said, you never know who's going to affect your future directly or indirectly.
I love that. Yes, yes. Good stuff. Well, Maida, thank you so much for being on the show. This was really insightful. Man, I was taking notes on my journal, so I just want to let you know.
Good.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, definitely. I always love to hear, advice from other people. I feel like everybody has something that we can learn from. So today I definitely learned, took some notes. And, I just want to say thank you again for being on the show. And I also want to say thank you, the audience, for watching the Blueprint on How to Turn Goals into Achievement podcast. And we will be seeing you on the next episode. Have a wonderful day. Bye.
Yay.